Welcome back to Party with Becky and Kenzie. Today, our topic is about self talk and manifestation. So, specifically, we want to talk about negative self talk and manifestation because a lot of people already know that saying positive affirmations and positive thinking will result in a more positive life and outcome. But people don't realize that when you're in that negative mindset and you're talking negatively about yourself or about situations, that also manifests itself into more negative situations. So whether it's good or bad, whatever you're speaking, it comes into existence. So that's what manifestation is. If you're focused on the negative will come true. If you're focused on the positive will ring true in your life. So whatever you put out into the universe, into the world, whether you're writing it, you're saying it, you're thinking it, it's always going to come back to you. So that's the law of attraction. Whatever you put out is what you attract. So if you're this miserable person, you're just not happy with where you're at in your life, you're going to attract people that are also miserable and unhappy in their life, and it's going to be hard for them to lift you up. But if you are trying to focus more on the good things in your life and what is actually what you want your life to look like rather than what it is, then you will attract those type of people and be able to create this little circle of a positive bubble rather than this negativity. So the law of attraction is very powerful when it comes to manifestation. So like I said, we know that positive affirmations and manifesting and meditating help a positive life unfold, but people forget that when you're in that just negative space, that will also manifest itself. So, for example, if you're always, this was one that I used to do to myself, so this is why I'm picking this example, but I used to always look in the mirror and just say the nastiest things about myself or my body. Whether I heard that from someone else or society told me to think that way, whatever it was, I just was not being kind to myself about my body. And so I was met with negativity around my body. But once I started to work on self love tips and self care things and get into this different mindset around my body, I started to, the negativity around my body started to leave, and whatever, and no one else commented on my body anymore. Whatever it was that was bringing me down about my looks or whatever it was started to fade away once I started focusing on, no, I am beautiful. I'm enough the way I am. I don't need, outside things to make me feel better. So that's just an example that I noticed in myself, that I was negatively manifesting comments about my body. So it turns into like that why me sort of mindset, that victim mindset, when you're saying like, well, why does this keep happening to me? Why do I look like this? Why do I feel this way? And that can in turn create more of this negative spiral for you when you're in that victim mindset of why me? Why is this happening to me? Because I think I saw a quote that said like, life isn't happening to you, it's happening for you. So to change that, even just that wording can positively manifest itself in your life as well. So self-talk and manifestation is a huge, huge thing that we don't even realize we do every day. Um, so whatever vibration that you're functioning at, because we're all energy, everyone has a different vibrational energy. If you're operating from a low vibration, you're going to attract low vibrational things in your life. If you're working on your healing and your spirituality and your self-love, you raise that vibration, and now you can attract those higher, more divine things in your life. So getting rid of things like superlatives like always or never or I can't, those words are so concrete, and saying, oh, I can never do this, I can't do this, or this always happens to me. Those are so like such powerful words to tell yourself that you can never do something. Who's to say you can't? You're telling yourself you can't. So why not change that and say, well, it's not always, but often I feel this way. So how can I change it? Um, So that is the gist, long gist of the overview of what this topic is all about. So affirmations, positive or negative, whatever you're affirming about yourself will manifest itself to be true in your life. So I want to pass it over to you, Becky, and your perspective on this.
Yeah, I have some notes as well, but I want to just go back to what you said about the superlatives, the can'ts. One
Mm,
of the phrases that I can't stand is when someone says, I can't afford this, or we can't afford that.
mm,
And it's like, who says? Like, well, if you keep saying that, then you're not going to get,
yeah,
whether it's, something small, like a little, whatever it is. Like, if you
what
want to buy something, whether it's a big thing or a little thing, if you're, oh, I can't afford
I notice people say that when it's something to do with their health. Like they have no problem spending money on going out and drinking at the bars, spending $100 on dinner, but when it comes to buying organic produce for $100, you're like, "Whoa, I can't afford that." So it's interesting that you say that.
that. Or even just, I know some insurance plans cover, let's say, like acupuncture. Like for me, I've gone to acupuncture. I think that was like the breaking point of I need to set money aside for this.
Mm-hmm,
I need to be able to afford this. I have to go there
mm-hmm,
because it makes me feel better and I'm taking care of my health. So
yeah,
I think that's one of the things. Even supplements, like sometimes, if I'm talking with people about supplements and it's like, oh, well, how much is that? They're not even
listen,
listening to the
yeah,
benefits, like, and it's like, oh, well, I have to wait. Or they're like, oh, okay. And I'm
yeah,
just like, my vitamins now, I take, it's just like a row. I have a bookshelf in the
mm-hmm,
kitchen, so I have to put everything high now, baby proofing. And it's like a row of vitamins. And when I look at that, it's like I'm taking care of myself.
mm-hmm,
Every day that I take them, it's like I'm taking care of myself. Um, some supplements, they're not cheap, especially if they're like specialized. Um, so I get that, but it's instead of saying, I can't afford this, figure out a way that you can, whether it's, I can afford this in 3 months
mm-hmm,
because I'll set aside, I'll save up for it, or how much is this? Okay, well, how long will it take me to save for that? I'm notorious for squirreling away money. It's,
mm-hmm.
I don't know, it's just something that I was raised to save. But let's see what I have from my notes. Oh, and I do actually have a tea quote today that I grabbed my tea. So we always say how, depending on the topic, sometimes or most of the time, the quotes kind of go with that topic. So it says, if you let yourself be successful, you shall be successful.
Mm-hmm.
When I opened that this morning, I was like,
That's
I kind of was like, okay, universe, I hear you. And a
like,
lot of my notes also is like me talking to me. Because I know when you had this idea for this topic, I read it in the text message as negative self talk and manifestation.
mm-hmm,
You didn't write negative, you just put self talk and manifestation. I added that. And I
right,
was like, when I went back, I was like, oh, okay. Because my mind as a human being tends to always
yeah,
go to the negative, like,
mm-hmm,
that's a normal thing. And I don't know if that's
right.
like science or I know
I
it's
think it's like a
common.
survival mode thing. Like
Yeah.
your thoughts are trying to protect you, but we're not in a survival situation
Caveman
anymore. So those
mentality.
thoughts are not true, no longer
Yeah.
ringing true for us. So,
Um,
but it's interesting that quote because it's like if you allow your life to be happy, it will be happy. If you don't allow it by, manifesting these negative things into your life, then you won't be successful. So that's really cool.
I'm going to save that one. That'll be a
Mhm.
refrigerator quote.
Yeah.
Okay, so I can manifest when I put an idea out into the world. oh, I think this was like me when I was doing this. So I can manifest when I put an idea out into the world. I'm not super specific. Um, and the time for me, it might be in a year or more that it'll come back. So like with this, like with Party, when I had this idea like 2 years ago,
Yeah.
it was like, I'm going to do some kind of video thing. I
Yeah.
wasn't super specific.
Mhm.
Who can I do this with? I had a couple people in mind. Um, the timing of it didn't work out. And then when I was pregnant, I was like, I'm not doing anything,
Mhm.
like I'm just going to be pregnant. And then now, I think in quarantine and all that, it's like, okay, we have the time. Like, let me like think on this. And I got more specific with that. Um,
And then did you notice as you got more specific, it came to you not faster, but it came to you in more, magnitude once
Yeah,
you got
because
more
when I
specific?
thought of you and it was like midnight and
Yeah.
I texted you and I'm like, I have this idea. You're probably sleeping. I think I'm going to bed. I don't want to forget. Like, talk to you tomorrow. It was just like you popped into my head and I was like, let me text her before like it like vanishes.
Leaves my head, yeah.
Because that happens. Sometimes I find, and I don't know if you find this for yourself, I'll get an idea or something will pop into my head and I'll have to write it down. A lot of times it'll happen if I'm driving and then I'm like, oh, I need to like try to remember this by the time I get to where I'm going to write it down. But that's why like my notes in my phone, like I'll just like write things like if I'm home or if I'm somewhere where I'm not driving,
Mhm.
have this like chaos of notes.
It always happens to me, like, when I'm, like, doing something, yeah, like, where I can't write something down, like, even while I'm, like I noticed the other day, like, meditating, it was, like, a group meditation, and I was like, "Oh my god, that like, something just popped into my head, like, I need to write this down, I need to get up and go get my phone," but we were, like, in the middle of a group meditation, so I didn't wanna, like, interrupt anybody, but I was like, "I'm gonna forget it," but then the whole rest of the meditation, I just kept repeating that to myself, and I wasn't focused on the rest of the meditation. I'm like, "I don't wanna forget this." But that's so true, like, I definitely noticed that.
I do that when I'm creating, and I don't know if you do this in your cookie business of like flavors and stuff, but when I'm creating skincare, a
Mhm.
lot of times it's like intuitively, like I know about the herbs and the plants and what's like good for skincare and this and that. So like I know like educationally what I'm doing. But if I'm like, I want to create something new, like what new product should I create?
Mhm.
And then I'll keep saying that. I think the questions, so I think for me with manifesting, I just ask myself over and over and over the same, like how you were like repeating that same idea. I'm
Yeah,
asking myself the same questions until I have an answer, until I can answer myself. Um,
it's great.
so yeah, yeah, so sometimes my ideas aren't clear, so manifesting looks a little different than the outcome I may have wanted. So
Mhm.
there have been times where maybe I have an idea and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go this way to get there. And it's like, no, you're gonna go that way, like realistically. And it's like more hoops, I guess, or more
I noticed
difficulties and challenges.
yeah, when you manifest and you're not specific, you're still gonna get an outcome, but it may not be the exact way you wanted to get to that outcome. Like, you're still gonna get the outcome, but the way that you got there is gonna be completely different. So the more specific I notice that you get, but don't hold yourself to that specific path. Like, be flexible, but be specific as well, so that way your guides and the universe knows which way to push your goals.
Yeah, and even I know in the beginning, sometimes for me, ideas I can't be specific because I just don't
Yeah.
know. So I
Just
have here,
just put it out into the
yeah,
universe at
it
the very
be
least.
when you can be specific or be as specific as possible to manifest. And that even goes with like dates, timelines, and the details. I think if you have the details, you might not have the whole picture, but if you have like little bits and pieces, like I know for me, sometimes I don't always have the entire picture. I just get little bits and pieces going back to that negativity. So the negative mindset, it's going to give you that negative attention and feedback, like Kenza mentioned in the beginning. And I have here misery loves company, because that's, you know, those people who are miserable try to pull you and bring you down to their lower vibrating
Even if they're
state.
not trying to, they're just doing it by being at that
Yeah.
low vibration, just by complaining and being, yeah, this
It's
myth.
almost like a magnet, like
Yeah.
that's like trying to pull you.
Uh,
I have here negative minds, negative friends. So I know when I was in like a really negative time in my life, all the people around me were super negative, and I didn't. Coming out of that, I realized that, and that's where it's like, okay, we gotta let some of these people
right.
go, or if they're not willing to change, and I am, like,
Mhm.
there's a growth, like separation happening.
What's interesting that just popped into my head is I heard one time that people are just a reflection of where you're at in your life. So if people are being negative around you, you have to look inside yourself and see, am I being negative? Am I, manifesting this for myself? It's a mirror. Everyone is a mirror to you. So that's interesting.
Yeah, I have here letting go of negative friends means trying to focus on being more positive. So I
Mhm.
know that once, and this was like the first time I had lost a lot of weight, um, like the first time. And I started noticing just like a different quality of people, or just like more positive people, because I was feeling better. I
Mhm.
wasn't, out of shape and just not liking the way my clothes fit. And once I started feeling better about myself, everything and everyone around me changed. But on the flip side, I always gotta like flip it. So even when we talk about positive, negative, faux positive people,
Mhm.
cannot stand them.
Like the toxic
Cannot.
positivity. Yeah.
Like, they're suppressing their anger, their grief, their negativity, and they come off as everything is rainbows and unicorns.
Mhm.
And I see this a lot on, like that social media, like reality versus social media, where it's the perfect outfit, the perfect filter, like the perfect, like color coordinated everything. And I'm just like, it's too,
Not happy.
yeah, or it's like nothing is, everything looks the same to me. Like,
Mhm.
where's like
Where's the
differences?
uniqueness? Yeah.
Yeah, where's like the individuality?
Mhm.
Um, One thing, I guess, I don't know if this is a talent, or like, I don't even, because to me it's like kind of sad, but I can spot. So, like on social media, I'm notorious for spotting someone who has suppressed anger
Mhm.
just by looking at their photo, their smile. If you see, and this is even, I joke with some friends, like, because we always say, "Oh, everyone's miserable," or like, like when you see those like perfect family photos, and I'm
Mhm.
like, "Everyone looks miserable in this."
Yeah.
No, it's like those fake smiles, but the jaw, if they're clenching, if they're like
Yeah.
that kind of a smile, because I think lockjaw or TMJ,
Mhm. Is
I
repressed.
think the emotion of that is like suppressed anger.
Wow.
So I think people who have like issues with their jaw, but when you think about it, like when you get mad, you're like,
Yeah.
my whole body
Tense
tenses,
up.
or
Yeah.
I feel my whole body's like, for me, it's like a fire that like that comes up, and
Yeah.
I'm like stiff. Um, I tend to be, I tend to be a realist and a dreamer when it comes to, I guess, manifesting. Um, those kind of coexist within me. So I'll have a dream, but I'll have bleh, realistic expectations. That was a little tongue twister. Um, Instead of, well, I shouldn't say instead of, because I do have my dream world expectations. I'll be like off in my dream world, like with our house. It's really old. It's from 1870. And I'm like, 1 or 2 years into it, once we started doing like home projects, like this room did not look like this when we moved in and we did this. Um, and I'm like, since when did we buy a fixer upper? My husband is just like, are you living in the same house that I'm living in? Like, where are you right now? I'm like, I don't know. I'm like in my dream world, you know? And so I tend to, I can go back and forth with being realistic and being a dreamer. So if that's you as well, the people that are watching, they can coexist.
I was gonna say, 'cause people, you don't have to be one thing. Like you
Mhm.
can, there's so many dualities to life. It's like you said, you can be a realist and still have these dreams that you want to fulfill that may be unrealistic in this society. But if you have that mindset that anything is possible, then no matter what goal you're reaching for, you'll get it because there's nothing stopping you. But then you also have to be realistic in the way that you get there as well. So both, like you said, can coexist, but that's with multiple things. Like you can be happy and enjoying life and still be upset and grieving things in your life at the same time. So I think just recognizing that duality of humanness, like it's okay to coexist as two different beings.
Yeah. And, being real means you're also expressing your negativity. One thing that I learned, because I think going to therapy, before I started going to therapy, I had a lot of stuff bottled. Everything was inside. I was like a
Yeah.
teapot boiling over. And so once I started learning how to speak about everything that was inside, um, I would vent to certain people that maybe in the beginning helps me. Not like my therapist, it's just like friends. And I learned like, oh, now they're using my words to
Again,
kind of hurt me. Like that's not a friend, or taking these like digs at me. So if you need to express negativity or if you need to vent, be very particular in who you vent to. Make sure you trust that person, like a best friend or even a therapist, someone that can't say anything.
right. And I also recently I've been trying to practice asking my friends if they're in a space where I can vent.
Mhm.
Because a lot of times people will come to me and just splurge everything out, and I'm not in a place where I can help
Yeah.
at that point. So what I've been trying to be conscious of is asking my friends, like, hey, I'm going through something. I want to just talk it out with you. Are you in a space to hold space for me at this time? If not, like we can talk another time. I just need someone to listen. Or if you're seeking advice, tell them what you're looking for too, because if you just want to vent and have somebody listen and then they're always trying to fix everything you're saying, that's not a helpful venting situation. So to to proactively tell them, hey, I'm not looking for advice, I just want you to listen, um, that can also help in your venting process to make it a more pleasant experience, and then rather than being met with something that you don't need at that moment.
You do it in a nicer way. I laugh because I'll call my best friend or send a text and I'll just be like, I'm annoyed. I need to
Well,
vent. Or
you know your best friend, you know that she's okay with that. So
like,
it's more for like if you're not sure of who to vent.
yeah, and that I think I've learned, I think one of the lessons I've learned, and this is more so in business. So when we used to be able to do like networking things and stuff,
Mhm.
and I know this will be a separate topic at some like one of these like grouchy topics
Right.
that I think I like to talk about because it also helps me kind of get that negativity out. Um, and like let's say you just meet someone and they're a business owner too, and they always have something negative to say about like everybody else, or like
Mhm.
they know like me going into it, I didn't, where I'm living now, I didn't grow up here. So I don't know a lot of people. So like these places where it's like everyone knows everyone. And then I'm like, hello, I am new.
Mhm.
Um, and it's like, you just met me and you're talking shit about people that I don't even know. Like, I don't even know what you're talking about. And then I'm like, okay, if they feel comfortable enough to talk to a stranger about people that they know, they're definitely going to talk shit about me when I leave the room. But
Exactly.
that's something I've learned, or even like a new friend or something like that, where I really only complain to my husband. I complain to you sometimes. And then, my best friend, like, or like if I'm annoyed,
Mhm.
like I have my people. Like I try not to talk about certain things with everybody.
Right. But like you said, it's okay to have negative thoughts and to try
Yeah.
to get them out. It's just when you stay in that mindset is when it becomes toxic. So it's okay. It's good to have negativity sometimes because you need to release it. It's
Yeah.
not good to hold on to the negativity. So you're not talking about it so that you can constantly talk about it and stay in a negative mindset. You're talking about it to let it go. So that's the difference with like speaking negativity, I
Yeah,
guess.
just like the pity parties, the negative parties,
Yeah.
it's like it's okay, right? We just don't get stuck there.
Right.
So I guess this is a question for you guys. Are you holding on to the past or letting go to move forward, right? Both of those are conscious decisions. So the great part about this is that you can decide which path to take.
Yeah.
We talk about, like, coming into your own power or reclaiming your own power or just like standing strong in your power. So those, we can't control a lot of things in life, but how we are, like, whoever we are, like, we can kind of control
We can
ourselves.
control
you know
our thoughts, we can control how we react to things, and you can create your own reality as long as you're focused on that. Like you said, you can hold on to the past and choose to hold on to the past, or you can choose to let go and move forward. And if you choose to do nothing, that's also a choice. So also thinking about that, like just not doing anything about your life is also a choice.
All right, so this next section, so we talked about negativity. So with negativity sometimes comes pain. One of the things that connects us as human beings is our ability to feel pain. No matter who we are, we've all experienced some kind of hurt, whether it's a little hurt, a big hurt. But what makes us different is how we deal with the pain, whether it's physical or emotional. So if you're stuck right now in a negative mindset with emotional pain, it can be preventing you from moving forward and growing. So I've experienced both, like physical and emotional pain. Um, and I don't know which. I've always said that the emotional pain for me is worse because, like, physical pain, like, you could kind of like breathe through it, you could take something. But emotional pain, it's a
Mhm. You have to
different
do a
kind of
lot more
pain.
work to heal emotional pain than you do to heal a broken ankle or some sort of physical pain.
Yeah. So I know one of the ways that I've tried to heal emotional pain is by learning the lesson or lessons that comes from that. Um, and focus on your personal growth and moving forward. But if you're stuck in that should have mindset, you're kind of frozen in time with those painful feelings and memories. And I've had that. Emotional pain, I've been stuck in that pain, in those feelings,
It's
in those
almost like it's almost like you're carrying the guilt of your pain or the shame that comes with it. Like, oh, I should have done
memories.
this, or why did this happen to me this way? It's like that negative mindset of you're still trying to grow out of it. You're still trying to move past your painful feelings, but you're doing it in this stuck mindset of, like you said, that should have mindset, whereas that's
Yeah.
not going to help you move forward.
Yeah, or even like for me, I know it was like the emotions, but then the trauma. So
Mhm.
it's like, so it's okay. Like, if you guys,
Right.
this isn't a bad thing. This is human beings feeling, coping, being with the whole range of emotions. So if anyone makes you feel that it's not normal, they're lying. They're, because I've had that, and it's like that even messes with you, because it's like, no, that's like, this is normal. People go through things, and I'm learning how to express that so they don't get stuck. That person, they're like hoarding like all that kind of stuff, and they need to work that out themselves. All right, so we love tips. So how to get unstuck from painful memories or emotional memories. So you can create, as Kenzie mentioned in the beginning, mantras. You can create a positive mantra to counteract painful thoughts. You can distance yourself from whoever hurt you. We love to ghost people. That's not new. I think we talk about ghosting in like every other video because it's important. You can focus on yourself more than the person that hurt you. If you start thinking about them, whoever hurt you, you can redirect yourself back to the present moment and then focus on one thing that you're grateful for in that moment. That goes hand in hand with my next tip. You can practice mindfulness so that our pain can't control us anymore. And this is how you take your power back. When you focus on the present, what's happening currently, you're not in your head, in your thoughts, in the past, but like right now. Right now, no one is hurting me. Right now, I'm safe.
Right. That's
And
one
that
this a lot. That
yeah.
safe and I am in control are two mantras I use a lot when I'm sort of in that panic mode, when I'm like recalling a bad memory or something. I just repeat to myself, I'm safe now. I'm okay. Like I'm in control. Like, and that definitely helps to get out of that like spiral.
I've done that too. I'm safe. All is well. I'm healthy. I can breathe, because I know sometimes if I'm in those anxious states, I have a really hard time taking deep breaths.
Mm-hmm.
That I used to do this, and I even still do it, not as often, but in the beginning steps of that, it was the 4-7-8 breathing technique.
I love that.
Yeah. Okay, so if you can't let go of emotional pain right now, it's okay, and be gentle with yourself. Try not to berate yourself, and show yourself kindness, compassion, and empathy. And this is kind of like a note to self. So when Kenzie had mentioned like a lot of her notes was like things like for her, like a lot of these notes and things are like note to self,
Yeah.
just to kind of remind myself.
I was gonna say too, like all of our videos don't mean that we are completely healed and we know we do all of this perfectly. This is also reminders for us to show you like, hey, we're going through the same thing or we've been through the same thing and it's still something we're working on too. So like that's always something I wonder when people watch our videos. Do they think that like we're like this
Oh,
healed person? And I know they don't think that because we're super raw and open and real with like our videos, but yeah, like this is not something that we do perfectly either, so these are all reminders for ourselves too.
yeah. Most days I'm a hot mess. And I think that hopefully no one thinks that I'm perfect, because
Yeah.
I think maybe like the perfectionism, maybe it could be because we work on these things ourselves and we talk about them, and we're sharing what we learned with you guys. And I always assume, like when I started doing this work, I was maybe, I'm trying to think, 26, 27.
Mhm.
So like, so like 10 years. Now I'm feeling old. Let me just like, um, so this is 10 years in the making. I wouldn't be doing this with you if I was if this was 10 years back. I wouldn't be able to form sentences and not burst into tears
Mm-hmm.
talking about past experiences, past traumas, and all that.
Yeah.
I would be just anxiety ridden.
Yeah.
And I always assumed, so like back then, people that I would meet along the way, maybe they were in their 40s or their 50s or their 60s, and I would assume like, oh, they're older, so they've done this work.
Yeah.
And that's not always the case. And it was always so shocking to me. Like, I'm like, what? What do you mean you don't know how to say no? Or what do you mean like you're letting someone treat you like this? Like you're older than me. Like what are you doing? Like, so I was like,
No time limit. Yeah. There's
'cause
no age requirement for healing. Like
yeah,
some
so
people never get there. Some people never get there.
that was one of the things, because I remember talking about that with my therapist, and she's like, most people will not do the work that you're doing. Like
Mhm.
older people might not ever do the work. And I was like, that was shocking to me. I think because I'm like, oh, I'm going to therapy, so that means everyone goes to therapy.
Yeah,
You know, like it was just one of those.
because we see through the lens that we're experiencing. So if we're going through this journey, we think that other people are eventually going to go through that as well, and it's not always the case. Some people are happy being stuck where they're stuck, you know?
Let them be stuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, so allowing negative emotions to flow and feel them. We have to try to avoid shutting them out, or like avoiding or shutting out our feelings, because that keeps us stuck. I know I was notorious again for like how I said, I held everything in, or I was like, nope, I'm not going to feel angry. Nope, I'm not going to cry. Like when I moved from Jersey to New York, when I was in Jersey, I never cried. I was more angry.
Mm.
But when I came up here, I was like, what is coming out of my face? Like, what is going on? You know, like the crying. And I'm like, what is this? And now I'll just cry. Like, and I don't care.
You have to allow yourself, like you said, to feel those things so that
Yeah.
you don't stay there.
Yeah. And I think that for me, at least, I was avoiding that stuff because I was afraid of going back, because I thought I would get stuck. So like how I just said, like feeling negative emotions makes you unstuck, but I thought feeling them would keep me stuck.
Right.
I did have professional help for this. So like my therapist, this was very important. So it is very important if you have serious negative emotions or painful memories, stuff like this. It's very important for you to find a mental health professional to help you through this, because I would not have been able, I couldn't pick myself up off the floor. I needed someone to carry me through that. And it's so important to have someone do that, because this is not easy. This is not like we're talking about this now, but going through that negativity, going through that emotional pain, it's not all rainbows and unicorns. It's painful, and it stirs up a lot of stuff. So that's why having a support system to help you through that is very, very important. This next one is something that I think I'm still working on and going through, but accepting that you may never get an apology from the other person. And I added, especially if they're dead. Mm-hmm. So if someone hurt you and they're no longer here, that's, for me, was a tough pill to swallow. Because waiting for apologies, it's slowing down your healing process and your growth.
Yeah, I noticed that, forgiveness doesn't have to be the other person being there to forgive. Like, you have to forgive them within yourself, with or without an apology, with or without them recognizing that they did anything wrong. That has to come from you in order for you to move on. It's not an easy thing. Yeah.
Let me know how to do that.
I'm still working on it. I think for me, the forgiveness comes from a place of empathy. Like, okay, what was going on in this person's life that they had to hurt me like that? And then when I think of it that way, it allows me just to feel a little better about the situation. I don't know why. It makes me just feel better that, they didn't hurt me because of I did anything. It was because of whatever they went through that they did that. So I don't know if that helps, but it helps me sometimes.
When I come out of the angry phase, I'm still in that angry phase.
Yeah. And you have to go through that. You have to go through that first.
Yeah.
To then get to that.
That's a long ass phase.
Yeah.
That angry phase, I notice it'll come in waves. Like I'm like, maybe I forgive. And then I'm like, no. Like I'm not forgive. I'm mad. Like I'm still mad.
Yeah. And you're allowed to be. That's the beauty.
Yeah.
Like you're allowed to be angry. Yeah.
Like we give you guys tips, but this is not like, okay, step 1, check.
Yeah.
Like, allow negative emotions, check.
Yeah.
Accepting
not getting at all different times. Yeah.
I'm just like, so we can also do more self-care setting. So I think our self-care is more hard work. When
the self-development stuff.
Yeah, like in my beauty business, I'll make posts about self-care, and I'm like, oh, wash your face, have a face mask. It's self-care. Yeah. But like this work, this self-care work, it's setting boundaries, it's saying no, it's tuning into your needs and doing things that you enjoy. You can surround yourself with people who breathe life into you. Lean on those people for support when you need to. They're your squad. Mm-hmm. So like I always talk about, like, my squad. We even have our group chat. Yeah. We call ourselves the squad with our little grandma emoji. And it just cracks me up. But that's my squad. That's, we always say what happens in the squad or what we say in the squad stays there. It's our place to vent.
Yeah.
And that's, so find your squad. It might take a while. You may already have it. I know for me, these are the people that I've known growing up for a very, very long time. So that's who I feel comfortable. So with your squad or with whoever is trusted for you, you can give yourself permission to talk about your pain. So finding that friend or therapist that is patient with you, even if you sound like a broken record. I know my therapist is like a saint, because I know that there were times, like probably for like a good year, I was just talking about the same things over and over and over. But I think that was me, like those many, many years of going through that. I had to keep talking about it to get it out.
Yeah. Because think about all the years that you held it in. Now you have to spend those talking it out. So,
and I think Chinese medicine, that's a thing in Chinese medicine. So for like chronic conditions, there's like an algorithm to that where for however many years you've had whatever chronic thing, is X amount of years in traditional Chinese medicine that it will take to heal.
Yeah.
And I hope it's like, I don't know if you double it or triple it. I don't remember. You have to Google that.
Yeah, but exactly. But it definitely is true because like I just started going to this new like holistic chiropractor, and she uses more of like your nervous system and your energy centers more than she does like cracking your spine. And she shows you like your x-rays and your tests, and she goes through, okay, it took you 25 years for your neck to look like this and your spine to look like this. It's going to take this many years to heal that, or this many, amount of adjustments or whatever it was in order to redo that healing. So it's definitely true.
My physical therapist, which I don't have that many visits left for the year, and I'm like struggling with this because I got used to going there, and I'm going to be like a basket case once visits are up. But she does something, I forget what she calls it, but when she works on my back, And she's like, how do you feel like afterwards? And I'm like, I'm very lightheaded. Like, this
Mhm.
is me being relaxed. I'm like, I'm lightheaded. Why do I feel lightheaded? I'm
Yeah.
panicking. And it's like, oh, I'm relaxed. Oh, I can take a deep breath. Like,
Mhm.
this is what it feels like to just
Breathe.
release all that. And so I try to remember, like, okay, even she uses the Theragun on me. I don't
Mhm.
know if you've ever had that.
My brother has one. We use it all the time.
Oh my God. So she'll go from like my back to my butt, like in my legs, like. And there was one time where I was like, okay, this is too intense. Like, she's like, are you okay? And I'm like, no, well, because like, I was like, it would make me nauseous. Like, so it
Yeah,
was like
it's very
so
intense.
tense. And because my body was so tight. And then I'm like, okay. But now as like things have progressed, so I'm like, okay. And I'm like, I need to get
Yeah, we have one and it definitely helps, like, just like you said, like, relax your body. Like, even if at first you're tense and you're tight, like, Matthew used to go around the office, at our tiny office, which was just my cousin's basement apartment, is where we would do our movers work and stuff. And he would go around, like, after an hour of work, we would go around with the Theragun, do another couple hours of work and go around with the
that's
Theragun.
good. That's like a good, especially when you're working, because when
Yeah.
I'm working, I'm like,
You just keep tensing up and tensing up and tensing up, and then you release it all, and then it definitely
yeah,
helps.
yeah. So going back, let me see, where am I? So, okay, so if you're sounding like a broken record, like me, um, you're speaking, you're speaking whatever it is out loud to release the pain. So you hear a lot like we give life to things that we speak about. So like when we say like, oh, I can't afford this, I can't afford that. So yes, like in that sense, like manifestation, when you're in that negative space and you're holding yourself back, okay, that's like one section of speaking about things. But if you're speaking about negative things because you want to release them, that's okay. So you don't always have to be like, every day is sunshine.
Right.
You can speak about these negative things to release them
Yeah.
because we can heal. When we're releasing our pain, it's part of our healing. Um, Yelling or crying also releases emotional pain. I've done both of these. Kenzie had mentioned about forgiveness. So I have here, you can give yourself permission to forgive.
Mhm.
For me, and for maybe many of you, this is not an overnight quick fix. So if it's like, today, I'm giving myself permission to forgive everyone that's done me wrong,
Yeah.
and poof, like, at all is well, all is forgiven. So
Yeah.
that's dreamer me. Dreamer me,
Yeah.
realistic me knows that this is not an overnight quick fix. This could take time. It could take a long time, a very,
And
very long time.
like you said, one day you can feel like you've forgiven that, and then another day you're having just a bad day
Memory.
of memories. Yeah, and you feel like you didn't forgive it. So it's a process. It's not like a one-time thing. Like,
Yeah, this is something that I'm definitely still working on.
me
But
too.
this step is vital to the healing process of releasing negative and painful emotions for yourself. So I know it's an important step. If someone out there knows how to get there quicker,
Yeah. I know one
please
thing,
teach me your way.
one thing I just want to again make the point of, like, forgiveness is for yourself. It's not for the other person. Like, it's all about you. The forgiving anyone else is not about the other person. It's not dependent on their apology or dependent on, them understanding your hurt. It's all the work that you do within yourself to forgive that person. And it's for yourself so that you can move on and be happy and live a life not controlled by this trauma or pain, whatever it is.
I had mentioned before about finding a professional. So find a professional to help you through all of this. If you need help through all of this, that's okay. It's normal. All these emotions are normal. We all have them, but again, some of us express them,
Mhm.
some of us suppress them.
So learning how to cope with them with a professional is how me and
Yeah,
Becky got here today. Like we wouldn't be, like you said, having this conversation if we didn't go through what we went through and got the help to recognize those things.
yeah, for this stuff, it's okay. It's okay to need another person to help you through healing your past emotional pains. It's important. Okay, we have a couple more. So I guess we'll go into how to not be so negative. Again, note to self, all of the tips. If anyone watching has tips for me to not be so negative, please share them. Teach me your ways, teach me your secrets. I need to know because I can catch myself. I mean, even we're living in negative times. I think that a lot of right now for me, it's external things
Mhm.
is what's making me so negative. Because I'm annoyed at a lot. I'm annoyed and I'm angry at many things going on in the world. And I think
And
one
that's
of the
like,
ways,
yeah,
when we did the Asian hate crimes, I think, 'cause I was angry. I was really angry about that. I think so when we talk about like, you get to decide. So I could have people who do bad things sometimes are angry
Mhm.
and they're hurting, so they're gonna hurt somebody else.
Right,
So I was angry about that and I said, what can I do? Like where can I put this anger that it will do something good?
right. Channel it
And
into positive.
yeah, how can I channel that into something positive? And having the discussion. I mean that
Right.
was probably one of
One-
my
Go-
favorite discussions.
Yeah, because like once we like do the work, it doesn't mean you're never going to be angry again. Things are going to anger you and things are going to come up. It's just how you choose to, like you said, channel that into something more positive that makes the difference in your life and that manifests a better life. If you channel that anger into negative things and bad habits, you're going to have that, you're going to manifest this negative life. If you channel that anger into motivation and power and your own power to create a difference, then that your life looks a lot clearer and better in that sense. So it's not saying that this is you're never going to feel pain or you're never going to be angry again once you heal. Like that's just not true.
In my dream world.
Yeah. Everything is
My
rainbow.
dream world, everything is perfect. I have no anger, no pain,
Yeah.
and it's all rainbows and unicorns. All right. So how to not be so negative? So we talked about living in the moment, practicing mindfulness, uh, dwelling on the past or thinking about the future can make you more negative or anxious. So say positive affirmations out loud in front of a mirror. So affirmations are great. You can say them even like driving, or it's a different kind of energy when you have to look yourself in the eye and say words that you might not believe at the time.
Yeah, and it's uncomfortable at first because I remember doing that and I'm like, I love myself, and I would like squint
Yeah.
and be like, oh, do that. But once you have to stare at yourself, you're just like,
Yeah,
all
you're giving
right, we're
yourself
doing
this
this.
guy.
Yeah. So funny.
It's just like, I am annoyed with you.
Yeah.
Me to me.
Yeah.
You can move your body. So I know with anger, especially for me, anger needs to move. So like if we're telling you guys to exercise or move, it's more so for your emotional state,
Emotional.
your
Yeah.
mental health. Milton had mentioned this in the last video about his tips where he said move your body, and I'm like, we say this.
Yeah.
Like a lot of his tips I was loving because
Yeah.
it's how I live. I think I had sent him a message and I was joking and I was like, after we recorded, I was like, I loved all your tips. I do all of those except the cannabis. and I was giggling, like I was like, oh, I do all this.
That's so funny.
But if that's your thing, that's your thing. For me, it gives me anxiety. So
Yeah.
I can't.
For getting back into your body too, it allows you to be more present as well. Like when you get into your body, you move out of your head. So it allows that emotion to pass through physically rather than stay stuck in your head. So that's why we say move your body, because your brain and your body are very connected. So when you're focusing on your body, there's no way to focus on what's in your head.
And it also releases those feel-good hormones.
Yeah.
Like oxytocin and like all those. So like when you're exercising, it's actually beneficial for your mental health. I know I'm doing a cardio. I was doing a 60-day cardio challenge, and it's like I have like 9 days left, and I'm struggling. Like this last like 2 weeks, it's becoming more intense. I had to take a couple days off just because my body was like, sit down. Yeah. Like, what are you? My body was like, you stop. Like I needed to rest. These certain things, even just yoga, if you can't go outside or go to the gym, Google, I'm sure YouTube has like a ton of yoga. You can face a fear, try new things, keep a gratitude journal, be mindful of how much you complain in a day. I know there's some days where I cannot stand myself because I'm just complaining. You can be extremely picky with who you follow on social media and what articles you read. Stop watching the news. We know bad things happen. I know that I have friends that I have to tell to stop sending me. They just send articles and I'm like, please stop. Like, I know bad things happen. My husband has a very good way of delivering bad news from the media to me. The way he says things, and I'm like, okay. Whereas if I watched it on the news, I'd be like, oh my God, time to panic. You can find ways to cope and express your anger and your grief in a healthy way. And this is where professionals can help with that. And then the last bit.
So all of that is how to not be so negative so that you're not manifesting that negativity in your life.
Yes.
So now moving on to.
Which I think I've focused a lot. This is supposed to be self-talk and manifesting. And I'm just like, well, I'm just going to focus on the negative. All my notes are negative.
I wanted it to be that because everyone knows that positive affirmation, everyone focuses on the positive affirmation side of things. No one talks about how the negative stuff, how to get rid of the negative stuff to be able to focus on the positive, which is a huge step. You can't jump right to positive affirmations if you're not dealing with all this other stuff. If you're still complaining every day and you're still, watching things that are making you anxious and consuming stuff that's giving you a negative life, it's impossible to focus on the positive, of course, because you're not getting rid of that stuff. So I'm glad that we focused. Glad we focused on this side of things, because everyone's video about manifestation and self-talk is all butterflies and rainbows and positive, love yourself, and it's like, okay, but how do we get there? Like, that's what this is about.
Yeah. I'm annoyed. Rolling my eyes.
Even when I was looking up the topic, like I knew what I wanted to talk about, but I always like to research it too, just to see if anything else pops in my head. And all the articles were like about positive self-talk and affirmations, but no one tells you how to get rid of the negative. And that's the point that I wanted to make, is like, people don't realize you're also manifesting when you're in a negative state. It's not just, positive affirmations.
There were some tips that I read that I was like, I hope no one is doing that, because some of the tips, it was like giving your power away, or it was just very like, like ignore it, or like it'll go away. And I'm like, what are you even talking? Who's writing this? Like, and I'm like, why? So don't always believe everything you read on the internet.
Check your sources.
Yeah. I try to be as accurate as possible. I know I don't know everything, and
right, of course.
I have like little bits and pieces. So like sometimes, like when I know things, I'm like, I think it's this, but Google it. Like, if I for sure 100% know, like this is it, then I'll speak like that. But if I'm like, I don't know, you might have to look at that. Whereas some people on the internet, it's like, I know everything. What I say is true. Right. And real and facts, and it's like, no, that's your opinion. Like, you're not even making sense.
Yeah.
So, okay, so how do we manifest? So, and this is still a work in progress for me. I don't know about you because I'm all over the place. So get clear on what you want. Ask the universe for it. But you also have to take the action steps to get what you want. So it's not like, I want $1 million. And then it's like,
Right.
you have $1 million. Like, you need to work towards that.
Right. Your actions have to align with your goals.
Yeah, you can't just say something and then sit on the couch.
Expect it to happen.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna wait for this to happen.
Right. That's a good point because a lot of people think that way about manifestation. Oh, if I just put it out into the universe, it'll come to me. And it's like, yes, partly, but you also have to meet it halfway and put in that work.
That's me in my dream world where I'm like, I'm just gonna sit and take a break. I want this, but I need to take a nap. This next step is very, very important. I never understood it until like maybe like a couple years back. Believe it will happen, right? So we talked about in the beginning, I can't afford that. I can't afford this. You believe that. If you're telling yourself you can't, that's a belief. Like, you can't. You're right. You can't. But if you're believing in the positive, believing, okay, I can save up for this. I can get this. I might not be able to get this right now, but I will get this by this time or eventually. Sometimes I'm like, eventually it'll happen.
Right. That's a huge one. Like, because just like with affirmations, like you don't believe them at the start. So the more you practice it, the more you believe it. So same thing with manifesting. The more you practice manifesting and asking the universe for what you want, and the more you start aligning your actions with that goal, and the more you receive, the more you start to believe that it's an actuality and that it can happen. So that's a huge part, like, that people don't realize. Like, if you just visualize it happening too, I noticed, like, visualize yourself in the place that you want to be. And that way your guides and the universe has a way to push you. If you're just saying, hey, I want $1 million, and you're not visualizing what that looks like, maybe you got that $1 million in a way that you didn't necessarily want it to happen. I don't know. Like, maybe you had a huge car accident and got a settlement for $1 million, you know? So it's like the way that you're manifesting and what you're visualizing and how that's going to look is super important when you are manifesting.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
And then the next one, which is something I struggle with, trust the process. When you're redirected, or I like to call it rejection. So if you get rejection and you're being redirected, try to have grace and gratitude and adapt to change when it's not what you pictured on how to exactly get there. So I know for me, like certain things, I'm taking it as rejection. And then it's like, okay, what is that? Or I think it's like success, or in business, there's that meme where it's like what people think success looks like. And it's like this. And then it's like, there's like that iceberg, and then on the bottom, and then it's like all, it's just like, you're like going this way, that way, like you're going backwards, and then you're going like down and then up and every which way. So you can, when with manifestation also comes raising your vibration. So I don't know, I wrote these, they might not be in the right order that you're supposed to do them, but raising your vibration is extremely important. And what that means is, this is where that heavy duty spiritual work comes into play, and it can help clear out any negativity by going inward. So like the winter season where we talk about going inward, heavy duty, working on our pain, working on our negativity, working on the things that are stuck in our body that are holding us back. So if you're like stuck or like suppressed, your vibration is low. Once you start, and I know that we talked about this, I think it was that aura chakra reading, but like the first time I had that done, I was working in a job that was a really toxic, negative environment. And my aura, so like your vibration, it was like this big. And then I left that place. And then like 2 years later, I was at some other spiritual festival, and there was someone there doing it. And I'm like, oh, I want to do this again because I want to see if anything's changed. And it magnified. It was either at 90 or 100. And I was like, but then also, okay, so you're raising your vibration, but then like you also have to be careful. Like, so misery loves company, negativity. So like if you're, and I say like your vibration, your aura, your personal space as empaths, I know like being a magnet or like negativity, it's a magnet. So you might attract extra things that you might not necessarily want. So it's also knowing, I guess, your boundary, and raising your vibration comes the good and the bad, the yin and the yang. So it's not just, oh, I'm high vibing, like, you know, rainbows, unicorns, sunshine, everything is perfect. You're gonna attract some junk, just like there's pollution like in the air. You can have some pollution like in your vibration too. Yeah, in your aura. And raising our vibration also helps to clear out our resistance. I know one thing when it comes to essential oils, rose oil is the highest vibrational frequency oil.
Wow.
Very expensive oil, because it takes like 1 billion rose petals to make like a drop of rose oil. But it is so, I know the first time that I experienced rose oil, even just holding the bottle, I was holding the bottle and my body was like shaking. Like I was also at like a spiritual woo like thing. But so I was in that like headspace and mentality of like, okay, I want to heal some shit. Like, so let's get this going. But rose is so powerful. I know.
That happened to me in a crystal shop in Georgia. I went to visit my cousin in Georgia. She's like, we have to go to this crystal shop, whatever. I'm like, okay. We go, and I like immediately like stared at this one crystal. I think it was the blue lapis lazuli. I don't know how to say
lapis lazuli.
Yeah, that one. Lazuli. Yeah,
I pronounced
so I automatically like looked to that one. I picked it up, and my hand started pulsing, and I was like, oh my God, like I have to buy this crystal. Like I've never felt like such a high vibration from a crystal before, but it was because I was in such a space where I needed that crystal. I was at a vibration where that crystal was going to heal me. I think it had something to do with like the throat chakra and believing in yourself and speaking your truth. And yeah, it's blue. The throat chakra is blue. So it was at a time where I really needed that. And I felt the energy in my hand. I was like, oh my God, I've never felt such a powerful crystal before. And that was just really cool. So when you're at a space where you're ready for healing, the signs and the vibrations will come to you. So be open to that, to receiving as well. That's important.
There's a crystal shop here that I haven't been to in a while because we go nowhere.
Yeah.
But one of the last times I was there, because they got like a new space, a bigger space, and they have a whole crystal room. Like their old space, there was just like crystals everywhere, but they had like a whole room. Like, and I walked into that room and I was like, I just want to lay on the floor. And that's not like, normally I'm just like, I'm not laying on this floor. I didn't lay on the floor because like it's public space, but I was just like, I need to lay on this floor and just like
absorb.
I was just like
the energy.
I think I spent like 2 or 3 hours like just in that room because it was a lot, so it was like overstimulating for me. But it was overstimulating, but I was like very relaxed. Like I felt like I didn't want to leave.
That happened to me recently. I just went to a crystal shop that opened up by me, and I walked in and I wasn't feeling any of the crystal, like I felt them and like I just none of them were calling to me, and I was like, oh well, that's like upsetting. I came in to like kind of like see which one, was calling itself out to me, and I didn't really feel anything, so I didn't want to buy anything that I wasn't sure about. But when I walked out, I just felt so like calm. I didn't realize that I was still getting the energy from the crystals, like even if mentally I wasn't there, like physically I felt the vibrations of all the crystals, because when I left I was like, whoa, like I feel super calm and like good. Like I was on like a blissful state, and I was like, I didn't even buy a crystal. Like
There was so the same shop. So I think the last time I was there was probably before I was pregnant, and I went in, and for whatever reason, I decided to ask the owner, "Do you have any crystals like for fertility, like something for like the womb and like
yeah.
that area?" And she had have it upstairs. So it was, I think it's orange
Was
calcite.
it, oh, okay, I was gonna say, was it citrine? Because that's like an
Yeah,
orange
so
delicate one.
citrine and anything orange is the
Sacral?
sacral chakra. So the sacral chakra, so it was in the shape of a woman's body. It was orange calcite, and it was almost like you could hold it very comfortably in your hand, like
Yeah.
a what is it, like a palm stone, but it was like the shape of a woman's body.
Yeah.
Um, and so I got that in July, and then so July 2018, and then May of 2019, I actually found out I was pregnant the day before Mother's Day.
Wow,
I
that's so cool.
don't know.
And now it's coming
Here
up
we go.
again. There's Mother's Day 2021 around the corner.
Yeah, so yeah, my second first Mother's Day,
Yeah,
because we had a quarantine Mother's Day last year. I know this year I'm like everything is like the first,
the
like,
first time.
like of everything. And I did actually bring that crystal to the hospital. Like that was one of the things I had packed in my bag. I don't know. It's like kind of one of those, like whether you believe or you don't. So that's where like the believing process of that. Like
If you
I
believe it, it will
bought
happen.
it, I bought it with like the whatever happens intention.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
bought it because I was like, I this is calling to me.
But that goes back to, like you said, like manifesting, like whatever you believe, whether it's good or bad, it will happen. Like if
Yeah.
you're believing in the good, the good will show itself to you. If you're believing in the bad and the can'ts and the nevers, then shit will never happen for you.
So it all goes back to like manifesting. Like it was for that specific thing. How I say like I'm not always clear. I'm not. So it happened when it happened, and like just how
Right.
it
Like
kind
it's
of
important to be like you said, it's important to be specific once you know what you want, but it's okay to first just have a general idea and put it out into the universe and see what happens. And then to be flexible and adaptable when things are changing and redirecting. You're still going to get your outcome. It just may not be the way that you expected it to happen, which sometimes works out better.
yeah. And then so the last thing that I have on here is how I manifest. So I visualize it and speak it into existence, or I write it down. And when I looked up, it was like, what is the most powerful manifestation technique? And I
Yeah.
think it said visualizing.
Yeah.
And that's something that I do. So I visualize more than writing or speaking. Like I'll think it and then I'll picture it like over
Right.
and over, like me with my broken record like
Yeah.
syndrome. That's me just like picturing it over and over and over. And I was like, oh, I didn't
That's
realize.
why like vision boards are really cool, because you're visualizing like exactly what you want to come out in your life. And some people put like the fancy car and the nice house on their vision board, but you can put like on mine recent one that I did, I have I wrote in a magazine, it said healthy obsessions, and that's like on my vision board, because if I see that every day, it's like, okay, let's not get obsessive about the negative habits and the thought patterns. Let's be obsessive over the healthy stuff. Like, and so like putting those things in front of you and visualizing it can really help. Like, and if you can't have it physically in front of you, like just picturing it in your head is very powerful.
I made when I was going through like my vision board, I call it my vision board phase. Because like I had never made one before because I was like, I'm not doing that. This like doesn't make like for so like it's weird. Like
Yeah,
some people it works, and for me, I was like, I don't like get
I
this.
don't
How am I
get it.
gonna
Yeah.
find something in a magazine like that's in my head? Like I'm seeing things in my head.
So the way I did it is I didn't have an idea of what I wanted on there. I just looked through the magazines and whatever called out to me, I was like, oh, I want that on it. But you're right, people can go into it with that mindset of looking for a specific thing and it not be there. So
I did so I made so there was like a family one, finance one,
mhm.
probably like a house one. Like so I made a couple different there was a spiritual one that I made. So like some of the stuff on there had come true and then some I was like looking at them now I'm like and I may have gotten rid of some because I'm like this doesn't even make any sense. Like I'm like I outgrew whatever I was thinking
Right.
at the time. So I'm like away with you, you go, you know.
That's important to recognize too. Like just because you visualize one way of life for yourself at a certain point in time doesn't mean that that vision can't change. And I think that's the beauty of manifestation, is constantly growing in your manifestation too. Like not being stuck on one idea for the rest of your life, because you change and you go through different experiences and you have these different lenses that get put on your life, and what you want to manifest will change, and that's okay. So being able to be adaptable to that and tell the universe that you're changing your vision, that's important too, because if you stayed with those old vision boards and still manifested those things that aren't aligned with who you are now, those would have came true, but they wouldn't have been what you needed anymore. So that's also a good point.
Yeah. Well, we hope that you guys are growing and manifesting your dreams into reality and coexisting with both. I think that's it from my notes. I
Yeah,
don't know if you had anything else you wanted to say.
that's all I had. I mean, just, focus on getting that negativity out before you can, don't be that toxic positivity person and shut everything out and not heal it before you can become that positive mindset. So that's my biggest takeaway, I would say. When you're learning to manifest, make sure that you're manifesting from a higher vibration. And to do that, you can follow all the tips that we just splurged out on you. So thank you guys as always for watching. Don't forget to comment, like, share our videos, follow us for more, and we will see you next time. Bye.